Albasheer. I'm the founder partner of Untitled Ventures. Untitled Ventures is a pre-seed venture studio that's targeting mobility, logistics, and supply chain. I'm going to tell you about AI automation for insurance claims and its impact. Basically, I've launched about 10 years ago. I've launched one of the mobility and logistics technology companies in the region here. And I've also launched the venture studio last year. I've also been an advisor to an International Communication Union in autonomous vehicle and driver safety. I've also been serving several multinational, several government agencies here during my course. I've been a mentor, an advisor for several innovation houses here in the region. Okay. A couple of tractions and awards over the last 10 years, and a couple of media coverages that we were honored to look at or to participate during this time. Okay, we're going to talk about technology disruption in auto insurance today, and key requirements for modern car insurance and software. And basically, if we look at those points, we've got the real-time processing. This is one of the main challenges that we're having. High accuracy of loose calculation. This is another challenge that has been faced by insurer. And processing of data from IoT, ADAS, and telematics devices, remote vehicle diagnosis, and use-based personalization. Those are 5 factors that we're going to talk about. Those are some of the main factors that an auto insurer will look at in order to have an efficient insurance processes. What the current software cannot do, or some of the challenges that the current software, so current technology for insurance are having, is basically processing data in real time, accuracy of calculation, solve connected car challenges, remote car diagnosis, use-based insurance, and AI-generated claims. So we're going to cover those topics during the course of the presentation, and how AI-based insurance technology can really help into these areas. Okay. So enhancing auto insurance solution through AI would involve, or some of the outputs that you could get is like efficiency, reducing employee overhead, clear handling processes and time, business insights on what type of reoccurring claim, what areas, what time, and all these particulars, business intelligence that you could get from such systems, and then improving user experience as well as reducing the risk of human errors. We know that automation, or some of the big benefit of automation is that reducing human errors and the time involved during this process. When we're talking about putting AI in insurance, we're talking about helping with underwriting, claim processing, customer assistance, and fraud detection. So we're going to take a deep dive in each one of these, and if you look at the tasks that we need to conduct when we are looking or selecting an AI-based insurance technology, we're looking to remote diagnosis. We need to know what's happened before that accident. Maybe we had some issues with the brake, maybe we had issues with the steering, maybe we had issues with several components in the car that might lead to that accident. And most of the vehicles today, they do have this diagnosis error codes in which you can read through and figure out if there are any mechanical failure that has led to that insurance, and this will help into the claim process as well. We've got the monitoring driver performance, and this is something most of the corporates today, they are actively working into that. When you have like 100 drivers or you have 200 drivers in your company, you will have certain challenges. So you see there are 70 or 80% of the driver, they are old, they don't have a lot of issues and all. And then you have another 20%, they are a little bit 50-50, and you have 10% who are causing you most of the problems. in terms of your fleet operation, fleet maintenance. So here, how could you be able through AI to identify the best run drivers and the lowest run drivers, and then figuring out what are the main issues with the worst run drivers? So you could take them for training, or you could have some administrative action and stuff like that. And as the time goes, you are getting the pool of the good drivers increase, and then you're reducing the pool of bad drivers or problematic drivers. Accident reconstruction is also a very important part in the claim processing. You need to know exactly what's happening, like 1 minute or 2 minutes before the accident. And then here there are many technologies involved. There are technologies involved that get data from the vehicle. There are technology involved which has cameras that will understand whether the driver was awake, was focused, was concentrating on the road, or he was playing with his mobile, or he was yawning, or he was sleeping, and stuff like that. So through computer vision and AI, this system will be able to identify any incident that's happened during the course of the trip. And sometimes proactively before the accident happened, it will alert the driver and the control center. Basically, that this driver is yawning too much, or maybe his eyes are closed, or he's playing on the phone, and stuff like that. And this all sort of benefits that we're getting from these 3 points will enable us to have a use-based insurance. What do we mean by use-based insurance? All of us, if we look at during the course of the last 2 years, we find that we have been commuting less. So for me personally, I used to do like 3,000 kilometers a month. After the pandemic, and then when we start coming into the normal life, I start doing like 800, 1,000 kilometers because many of the meetings are done online and all this thing. So would it be fair for me to pay the same amount as insurance premium if I'm doing 3,000 kilometers or if I'm doing 1,000 kilometers? Many people, they think no. Because the risk exposure that you're having if you're doing a 3,000 kilometers is much higher than the risk exposure if you're doing 1,000 kilometers. And this will use the use-based insurance or the pay-per kilometer or pay-per drive behavior. So there are 2 models here, which is pay as you drive. So this is completely based on the number of kilometers that you are using. If you've got your son or daughter, for example, studying abroad, and then he comes just for 3 months or 5 or 4 months and use the car during this period, would it be fair to pay for the other 8 months while the car is just parked on your garage? No. So based on that, many of the insurance models today that are focusing on how many kilometers that you are driving, and then they are putting the premium according to that. The other one is pay as you drive. Pay as you drive. So this model through AI, it encourages the good driving behavior. So if your driving runs are good over the last 1 year, you get discount on the premium, and this will help the risk mitigation when you are doing you're structuring the premium, the package, and all, because it's all based on the risk mitigation. For most of the insurance companies, we know that the 80% of the claims are coming just from 20% of the customers. So how much, how far could they go into encouraging those drivers to drive good? So at least it could reduce the risk. All the insurance provided today, they do agree that there should be some changes in the premium. They're willing to offer discounts. Some of them they're willing to offer up to 30%, 40% discount. But whom shall I give the discount? This is the important part. So when we have the as you drive, you would know that if you have 1,000 drivers, you would know that these are the worst 10% of the drivers. So don't give them discount. Give the discount to the 90% who are adhering by the rules and all this stuff. So the second thing is monitor the driver performance, and we talked about this. So in that, the driver behavior is important, traffic condition, and the data coming from the sensors. So right now, most of the cars, personal luxury cars, this is an embedded feature which is available in most of the cars. Commercial cars, there is a retrofit options in which you could monitor the driver, you will engage a specific driver with every trip, so it will be accountable for any issues that happen during the trip. You can get a lot of data from the car itself, and you could also, through cameras and computer visions, in a more sophisticated, probably in mass transport like buses and all, the risk is higher. So here they put ADAS, advanced driver assistance system camera, they put road monitoring camera, and those cameras sometimes they are also connected with indicators. So if you change lane without putting an indicator, then this is a violation, and it will reflect an alarm to him, will reflect an alarm to the contact center. Talking about remote car diagnosis, and right now, this is done only once a year when you take your car for renewal. They will check the car, make sure that it's ready for the road, there's no safety concerns and all this. But what if you are continuously monitoring the car? So proactively knowing that the brake shoes has worn down, or maybe the brake oil is less, or maybe the steering calibration is not proper, then here we'll be able to proactively prevent the accident rather than getting into the accident and then has to deal with the consequences. And then applying those technologies, as I say, they could be retrofit, and there are different levels in terms of the car remote diagnosis. Reconstructed accident. Now, reconstructed accident, this involves speed, it involves whether they kept on the lane or no, it involves the number of hours the driver has been driving during that day or during that session. It involves also, like with the driver monitor system, for road collision warning, side collision warning. These are all some of the metrics that can be detected with devices and AI technology today. And you could have some sort of alerts on this, but in case the accident has happened, you've got a very high resolution data. So in sometimes it's like more than 500 parameters you are getting per minute. So through putting this accident reconstruction, you will get a lot of insight on who was responsible, what is the liability, does it fall on the driver, does it fall on the corporate, which on the car, did it send the car for the maintenance, or does it fall within other third-party elements. Okay. So 5 steps moving to AI-based insurance. So in this, we're going to ask us, what task will I apply AI for? So sometimes they are on vehicle devices that they need to put. Sometimes it's about processing the claims itself. Sometimes it's about OCRing the claims to avoid human error. Sometimes it's about analyzing big data that will identify what are the risk areas, what are the risk locations. You will eventually identify some areas where more accidents are happening. There is a specific time of the day where more accidents are happening. So all this data will allow you to, for example, somebody who doesn't drive at night, okay, you could offer him a premium that is different than somebody who's driving at night or having long trips. How will I implement AI capability in my service? This is another question we're going to answer. What technologies should I choose, and where can I get enough quality data? What challenges should I expect along the way? Now, looking at the first element, as I mentioned, what task shall I apply of? So, we're talking about AI and ML technologies that can help you do a lot of insights that can help you on your daily operation. So, as an insurer who's having, let's see, 50,000 vehicles or 100,000 vehicles, if you manage to collect data from those vehicles in real time, you've got huge amount of data that can give you a lot of insights on who's good, who's bad, area, time, speed, a lot of stuff that can help you into structuring your package. And then if this data is not available to you today, then where to get this data? For example, data regarding damage estimate. There are a lot of systems today with AI that can give you a proposed estimate for repairs, just based on images that you are getting from the vehicle after the accident. The second thing, how would I implement the AI capabilities? And here, there are different approaches. Okay, so if you are a car insurance provider or you plan to build one, so if you're already in the business, then you will need to plan which areas that you have to deploy the AI on. Or if you are starting from scratch, or what they call today insurtech companies, who are lighter vehicles that can move faster, and then they are almost disrupting the existing insurance companies, or maybe insurance companies are acquiring them. So based on that, whether you do the development yourself, this is a question you need to ask, or whether you use a third party who are already having a large amount of data, they have their platform, and then you connect the API, you connect through them. So if you're an existing insurance provider, maybe third party could be a good option in order to start a transition period till you will start building a full-fledged solution. Now, what technologies shall I use? We're talking about neural language processing, NLP. We're talking about image processing and recognition, optical character recognition, effective computing, and AI-based telematic. So right from natural language processing, understanding the command. There are many cars today you can give it command by itself, or it can react to you based on whatever you say. It's something that you can tap in. Image processing and recognition, whether it's image for a written claim that you need to OCR in order to put it into your system digitally, or even an image that your client has taken for a small accident that shows the back right indicator is damaged, and then based on that image, you will estimate the repairing cost, and you will avoid gathering many cars that have an accident and then bring in many estimators to look at that. Then optical character recognition, we also mentioned regarding the optical character recognition, effective computing, basically using the computing to analyze, to do business intelligence, to give you the insights, and the AI-based telematics, which we will also show a couple of slides later on that. Availability of the data. As I mentioned earlier, if you are having an telematics or AI telematics deployed, then you could get a very high resolution amount of data. That's up to 500 parameters per minute. And then if you have the right tools, then you could do. If you do not have this, there are also providers of data that can provide you some of the data, and then you can train your machine learning model based on that. But what challenges shall I expect when I'm deploying that? Okay. There are technical challenges that are coming with most of the technology deployment, and specifically with AI. So you need to build capacity. You need to decide on technologies, on tools, on approaches, and all this stuff. The second challenge is the data security. So the more data you are aggregating, the higher responsibility you have in securing this data, making sure this data is not being exploited, is not being shared to the wrong people, and then reducing biases. There are a lot of biases regarding the name of AI, and what it could do, and all this stuff. So you always have to make the technology work for you. Rather, any vendor will come and tell you, okay, our solution can do this and do that and do that, and when to twist your business processes and workflow to fit their solution, you have to take a step back. Because the right vendor will understand your existing processes and then put the technology on top of that as a layer that will not affect or will have the least effect on your business processes in order to deploy the software. Okay, I'm just going to get some snapshots about some of our ventures and what I've been doing. We've got this Intuito tool, which is having driver monitoring system based on AI and computer vision. And in this system, basically, you could identify driver fatigue. During the driver fatigue, whether he's yawning 3 times a minute, or his eyes is closing, 2 times a minute, or maybe his head is just falling, and whether he's moving, he's moving a lot, When you start getting, sleepy, you tend to move a lot sometimes. So all these actions is being detected, and then you'll have a direct alarm happening to the driver, and if it's commercial fleet, it will happen also to the command and control. Some of the solutions involve cameras. Cameras are facing the drivers, and some of the cameras are facing the roads. So the cameras facing the drivers can check the seat belt, it can check using mobile phone, it can check eating, drinking, sleeping, it can check, fiddling around, or it can check even the driver is not there at all. It just goes off. You don't see the driver there. And believe me, for somebody who has been dealing with hundreds of thousands of drivers over the last 10 years, all these situations happen. All of them happen. And sometimes when you confront the driver with them, then they deny. And then you get them the photo, and then you show them they're talking on the phone and they're sleeping. And then that time they say, okay, sir, yeah, it's my mistake. So you need to proactive, because at the end of the day, you need to help these guys becoming better. When they have accidents or when they get traffic fines, they are not happy with it. But again, as an organization, you need to help themselves. Another cameras which are facing the road, this can detect coming very close to a vehicle, or maybe moving the lane when they are forced, closer to the force, or maybe moving the lanes just simply without having indicators. Some of the statistics in Dubai here particularly, that most of the fatal accidents are because of moving lanes without indication. This is a major issue, especially when you have 4 or 5 lanes roads and they're moving speed beyond 100. That is very serious. And then, in case of the collision, also it will help with the collision. Now, for example, here in Dubai, the benchmark was 8 minutes from the time the accident happened till the access to the ambulance. And they are planning by 2025 to reduce this to 4 minutes. So this comes into the eCall system. Now eCall is a system that's been proposed in Europe for a couple of years, and where the car itself can report the accident with a large amount of data. And based on that, the ambulance can know the location, know the status, know the posture of the car, whether it's overturned, whether it's a dry posture or stuff like that. There are many alerts that you could get, for collision warning, headway monitor warning, then partial warning, eye closing, no driver at all, yawning, smoking, phone call, drinking, distraction, seat belt unfastened, driver unauthenticated, and stuff like that. These are some of the alerts that have been captured between different situations. And this is me now enjoying, sleeping and drinking and stuff like that. And it takes only that particular segment. Okay. This is another thing how the AI will be able to detect, and the more data you feed into the system, the more accuracy you are getting through. The awareness travel codes, also we talked about that, and this code has specific parameters for every car, for every type of fault. From the code itself, you could read right away what is the problem with the cars, and this will help you even prevent the scanning cost. When you have a problem with the car, you take it to the mechanic. They charge you 200 dirham, 150 just to scan to figure out. This is a real-time scanning that's happening. These are some of the geographic codes that we're getting from some of the vehicles. So you see that there, B0172, that means something, B2196 means something. And there are many data providers today who will advise you even on the cost of repairing this error is this much, the part cost is this much, and the labor cost is this much, which will help a lot. Then value of driver assessment, as we see, you see this driver, within 1 hour, he made like more than 17 violations. So now this driver could be Caribbean brand, could be a famous, e-commerce company, or a famous company that's building, paying a lot of money to put their brands on the road. And we all see how the bike runners for many of the delivery companies are putting their life on the edge just to earn a living. So it's a responsibility of those companies in order to guide them through the best practice, to find a better business model that will allow them to make a living without putting their life on a threat. Parameter of driver assessment, we've got speeding, acceleration, braking, cornering, seat belt status, custom, and when you aggregate this data on a regular basis, you will have a huge amount of data that will bring you a lot of insights. You build a machine learning model that you can relate always, and it will tell you this is a good behavior, and this is a bad behavior, and this is how the ranking will come. If you have a 100 driver, they tell you this 10 drivers, you need to deal with them, and today. And for every driver, they'll figure out what is the problem. And I'll come to the conclusion of my presentation. We've got like 4 minutes for questions and answers. I'd love to answer any question.
How do we ensure, as much as it's for the safety of the driver, how do we ensure the data privacy, because given that they are being recorded 24/7 at their while they're driving, how do we ensure that?
Okay, see, if you have a device, a telematic device that's installed in the vehicle, then there is an end-to-end encryption between the device and the server. When the data is landed on the server, then you probably have a lot of certification on that data center or whatever. For us, we use one of the most reputed data centers that is just focused on telematic. We run more than 270 servers within those ones. And then when you offer this data to the consumer, always you have to make sure that you have a valid security certificate, that the transaction between you and your customer client is always in secure channel. So those are the measures are up to the standard, right? From the data aggregation from the vehicle up to providing this data to the consumer.
Excellent, excellent. What do we got? We got one more?
Hi, Pankaj here. I have a question on the cost of implementation vis-a-vis the insurance cost, the motor insurance cost of this technology. And have there been a case study as to overall how it has been impactful in reducing the cost of the overall cost of motor insurance for the fleet owners, or maybe the general individual clients also?
Okay, I do agree with you, and I'm going to start with commercial fleet. Now, in terms of the commercial fleet, I believe the agility is the most important element into reducing the cost. What do I mean by agility? If you look at some of the providers like taxis, for example, sometimes you find there are 3 or 4 drop devices they are running in this taxi. And sometimes, they like sort of put a bit of constraint on the regulator on when he asks to deploy, more stuff. So as the technology evolves, instead of running 3-4 devices on the vehicle, right now there are 1 devices that can run everything. So this will eventually reduce the cost in terms of the device cost and the communication cost, because you need a SIM card for every device. Now, on the other side, this requires a holistic approach. Means, for example, there was a plan to roll out the ePol in UAE just before COVID. And then if you have a device already in the vehicle, you should not install another device. So you need to look at the whole stakeholders and understand the challenges of the stakeholder. You have a stakeholder from security perspective, from operation perspective, from client perspective, from data analysis. Once we have a proper sort of business review onto this, then when you go to the technology already, one of the most challenges that many of the companies they face today is that they jump into the technology right away without having a proper business.
GPS device on a fleet, it's a transportation, and we deal with transportation at the maximum. It's a manual. You get a discount for different GPS devices that you use. You get a discount for the dash cams that you have, whether it's a road-facing or a driver-facing dash cam. There's a 37% reduction in claims year on year for the past 3 years. If you look at AI, dash cams, GPS devices, driver monitoring systems being utilized in the US now. A 37% reduction year on year for the last 5 years.
Incredible. Good stats.
I think many companies many countries like UK, for example, UK is rolling it out for trucks since last year. It's all a challenge between that data privacy and between the convenience that's coming out of the surface, you know. So it's like, yeah, how would we penetrate this area, but how would we keep the data safe? But as the gentleman said, yeah, the efficiency that it has brought, it understood by many of the stakeholders the value. In Dubai here, for example, in general, we have 150,000 rental cars. They're all monitored for security purpose. But again, how would we extend this monitoring to be more valuable to the fleet owner, to the driver, by mixing, the car sharing,